10 things we have blamed on the moon. One of the elements of the night sky that can be seen is the moon. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that people have attributed it to practically all of their unsolved problems. As you will soon discover, the moon is not always innocent, despite its often harmless appearance. The moon has occasionally been shown to be responsible for claims made against it. These charges range and aren't always negative, but they are all odd or at the very least unexpected. We wouldn't anticipate people connecting these items to the moon. 10. Madness. Madness has always been connected to full moons. Actually, the word lunatic is derived from the Latin word for the moon, luna. Pliny the Elder, a well-known Roman author and philosopher, asserted that full moons encouraged the production of dew in the 1st century. He asserted that this dew increased the amount of water in our brains, resulting in sporadic episodes of insanity. The Lunar Effect, Biological Tides and Human Emotions, written by Arnold L. Lieber in 1978, furthered this error. According to Lieber, the moon's gravitational attraction draws the fluids in our bodies in the same manner that it draws water to the ocean's surface, creating tides. According to Lieber, the attraction led to the fluids in our brains jumping around, which led to insanity. Numerous researchers have established the moon's innocence in every matter. Our brains and our ability to become irrational are unaffected by the moon. Professor Scott Lilienfeld, a psychologist at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, offers an intriguing theory as to why people believe the full moon makes us angry. He claims that the myths first surfaced hundreds of years before electricity was developed, when humans relied on the moonlight to see at night. People used to spend more time outside during full moons at the time. This included mentally ill persons, who had more time to act impulsively and contributed to the myth. 9. The death of General Stonewall Jackson. On May 10, 1863, Confederate General Thomas Stonewall Jackson passed away from illness. Just a week earlier, on the night of May 2, 1863, he had been killed by his own troops. That evening, the Confederates had begun an assault against the Union, which resulted in the Battle of Chancellorsville. After being mistaken for Union invaders, the general and his unit were shot. Texas State University researchers Don Olson and Lori E. Jasinski attribute the shooting to the full moon on the night of the conflict. The issue with the full moon is this. Full moons are frequently thought to improve visibility. Unless the moon is directly in front of you, this is frequently the case. When it happens, everything in front of you will resemble a shadow with no features. The 18th North Carolina infantrymen who shot the general that night had the moon directly in front of them. They were unable to properly see the oncoming soldiers. All they could make out were the men and horses' dark shadows moving closer. The instant the troop drew too near, they started firing. 3 musket rounds were fired at General Jackson, killing his left arm. A week later, complications claimed his life. 8. Tohoku earthquake of 2011. A catastrophic magnitude 9 earthquake struck northeast Japan on March 11, 2011. Shortly later, a tsunami with similar fatalities occurred. 15,894 individuals had died by the time it was over, and another 2,500 were still missing. There were more than 1 million damaged or destroyed buildings. The tragedy was the most expensive natural disaster in history, costing between $199 billion and $235 billion. Because Japan's early earthquake warning system missed it, the earthquake was unexpected. This led skeptics to attribute it to some sudden, unanticipated event, such as the moon's gravitational influence. This made sense given that the earthquake happened 1 week after the new moon and 1 week before the next supermoon. You see, the moon's orbit is actually an oval shape rather than a circle. Accordingly, the distance between the Earth and the moon is always changing. We refer to a supermoon when the moon is at its closest to the Earth. Similar to a full moon, the supermoon is bigger and brighter. The new and supermoons are when the moon's gravitational pull on the Earth is strongest. There is evidence to support the claim that this strong gravitational pull increases pressure on geological faults, resulting in seismic activities and ultimately earthquakes. That did not occur this time, though. Actually, the earthquake occurred when the Earth's gravitational pull from the moon was at its smallest. 7. Childbirth. People have long conjectured that full moons are when most babies are born, compared to other times of the month. The stories presumably started because of the false notion that, like oceans, pregnant women's amniotic fluid was impacted by the gravitational pull of the full moon. The water is said to break as a result, starting labor. That is untrue. Numerous studies have demonstrated that the moon's gravitational force has no impact on women, childbirth, or labor. Daniel Catone released the largest of these investigations in 2001. Catone examined the information of 70 million kids born during a 20-year period. He found that full moon evenings had fewer births than other nights. Regrettably, this rumor just wouldn't go away. 6. Positive stock market returns. According to several research, the 14 to 15 days immediately preceding a new moon are when stock market returns increase. Profits increase 3 times more during new moons than at any other time of the month, according to a study involving 25 stock exchanges in the G7 nations. To that end, avoid thinking about buying stocks during new moons to sell at full moon the following 2 weeks later. Even though you would make a respectable profit if you did, since you would be buying and selling stocks frequently, you would lose the majority of that money to transaction expenses. Additionally, although not to the same extent as they do around new moons, stocks also rise at other periods of the month. Chronic hemorrhagic conjunctivitis 5. One of the enterovirus 70 or Coxsackie virus A24 viruses can cause the severe eye illness known as acute hemorrhagic conjunctivitis. Pus leaks from the infected eye, which turns red and swells. Fortunately, the illness seldom proves fatal and frequently goes away by itself within a week. Although it has been reported in various other nations, including the United States, the illness is most prevalent in Africa. Apollo is the name given to it by Africans in honor of the Apollo 11 moon landing. This is due to the fact that the disease was first noted in Ghana in 1969, the same year Edwin Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong made their lunar landing. Upon their return from the moon, the Apollo 11 crew was thought to have brought it to Earth. Some even referred to it as Apollo 11 illness so that people would understand what they were talking about. Though nowadays people are wiser. Even though they no longer attribute it to the moon landing, they still refer to it as Apollo. 4. Menstruation. People have long held the belief that the menstrual cycle is synchronized with the moon. Menstruation actually derives from the Latin term menses, which itself comes from the Greek word mene, which means moon. The rumor most likely started when humans realized the moon's orbit around the Earth takes about 28 days to complete. The typical length of the human menstrual cycle is 28 days. Dr. Eugene Jonas, who noted that women were becoming pregnant while only having sex when they were not ovulating, is credited with the origin of one of the modern menstrual moon cycle myths. According to Dr. Jonas, women have 2 reproductive periods each year. The other was the outcome of what he dubbed the lunar cycle, while the first was based on their regular menstrual cycle. According to legend, the moon's orbit of the Earth serves as the foundation for the lunar cycle. Dr. Jonas' theory was unsupported by any scientific data. All he had was his personal faith in astrology. He nevertheless continued doing it. However, there is no proof that the moon influences the human menstrual cycle. Additionally, every woman has a unique cycle that can run anywhere from 21 to 35 days. Only an average cycle of 28 days exists. 3. The Great Crypto Crash. In January 2018, there was a severe drop in the cryptocurrency market. In less than a month, all cryptocurrencies experienced an 80% decline in value. The price of a single Bitcoin decreased from $20,000 in December 2017 to $10,000 in January 2018. For contrast, during the infamous dot-com boom of 2000, businesses lost almost 78% of their value. This crash's impact was so great that it earned the moniker the Great Crypto Crash. It was also unexpected given how quickly cryptocurrencies had increased in value in late 2017. Investors and experts started searching for anything they could point the finger at as the cause of the bad luck. It appears that someone simply pointed upward and pointed the finger at the moon. Alexander Wallen, the CEO of the investing website SprinkleBit, made this assertion. Actually, he attributed the decline to the Chinese New Year. The lunar calendar serves as the foundation for the Chinese New Year, also known as the Lunar New Year. On the night of the first new moon of the lunar year, the 2-week celebration begins, and it concludes on the first full moon. When Chinese investors cashed out their bitcoins to pay for their New Year celebrations, which started on February 16th, Wallen stated that Bitcoin collapsed. As a result, prices for Bitcoin fell as more were poured onto the market. This makes sense given how many Bitcoins are held by Chinese citizens. But are we truly attributing the disaster to the moon? 2 vehicle mishaps. Accidents are notoriously more likely to occur during full moons. Unfortunately, this is accurate. The result was obtained after 30 years of research by Princeton University and University of Toronto researchers who looked at fatal motorcycle accidents in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. They found that full moon evenings had 5% more accidents than other nights. When there are supermoons, the likelihood of an accident rises to 27%, making the situation worse. Researchers believe this is because full and supermoons tick all 3 boxes required for an object to be considered distracting. They could appear quickly and without warning because they are big and dazzling. In addition, on full moons, more people are likely to be outside, and bikers may be tempted to ride more quickly due to the improved visibility. 1 crime. Criminal activity has historically surged during full moons. Police agencies like the British Sussex Police, who asserted that more crimes took place during full moons, have supported this hypothesis. This conclusion was made by the Sussex Police after reviewing their 2006 crime data. They found that full moons were the evenings when they reported the most crimes. The researchers have also seen this trend. The lack of a connection between crime rates and the full moon, discovered by other researchers, renders the theory dubious. Even if it were accurate, others do not believe that the moon's ability to affect people's minds is what is causing the rise in crime. Our minds are unaffected by the moon. Instead, the moon's illumination motivates people to spend more time outside. At the same time, because they require light to carry out their crimes, criminals roam the streets during full moons. The light must be both bright enough for them to see and dark enough for them to sneak up on their victims and startle them. The lighting hypothesis refers to this. That's for now. We appreciate you for being here. View more our channel videos.